I'm going to turn on all the power of the things that you need to hear. So it's Shabbat. Does anybody know why it's called Shabbat? Yeah, because the verb, he rested, remember at the beginning of the creation, so there's two creation stories that we see in the Torah, and so between the two creation stories, it says, and God worked for 6 days, and on the seventh day, hu Shabbat. And that's the word for he rested. So God called it Shabbat, because he Shabbat. It's kind of that simple. It's really cool. When you do it in Hebrew, it's obvious. So it's called Shabbat, which means the day that he rested, which means the day that we rest. And I'm going to ask you questions about next week, too. So next Shabbat is the same day as another holy day. Which holy day comes next Shabbat? Passover. My mom said Good Friday. I expect that on Sunday mornings. I did not expect that today. It is. Today is actually kind of Good Friday because the name of the Shabbat this week is called Shabbat HaGadol, which means like big Shabbat, which is kind of like a big, good Shabbat. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, about why it's called Shabbat HaGadol, the big Shabbat. It's kind of not bigger than most Shabbats. It's less, just as long, but I'll tell you a few reasons why it's called Shabbat HaGadol. So next week is Passover. It starts when Shabbat starts next week. It doesn't always do that, except as somebody reminded me this week, it feels like it's doing that a lot. I don't remember when I was growing up ever having Shabbat and Passover at the same time. I don't remember ever having the first Seder on Friday night. Maybe because I didn't have to lead the service and figure out what you do for both, and we would just say, okay, come to our house on Friday. Maybe that's what happened, but I don't remember it happening very often. And all of a sudden, it's happening a lot. So it has been happening a lot. So Friday night, when we start Shabbat, we're also starting what holiday? What holiday? Passover. And Passover is, why do we call it Passover? Why do we call it Passover? Yeah. The angel of death passed over the house and left the firstborn children in the Jewish homes alive because we did what? We smeared some blood on the doorposts. And actually one of the reasons why it's called Shabbat HaGadol is because back then, Shabbat was when they had to acquire the lamb that they were going to slaughter, that they were going to use the blood for. And the reason why it was significant in those days is because I have never been to India. Have you been to India? Have you ever been to India? So one of the things that I was taught in high school about India was that the cows are considered holy, and they can walk around and go wherever they want. It's a lot like that with ancient Egypt and the sheep. They were holy. They were untouchable things, not in a bad way, but in a holy way. And so the fact that the children of Israel took the lamb, brought it into their house, actually, and then slaughtered it and had to eat it and took the blood, was kind of a freaky thing for the Egyptians to have seen happen. And it was a pretty big deal because they let it happen. You could tell that the tide was turning because they let it happen, even though these were holy things. They were too busy dealing with all the other stuff going on, and they just let it happen. So that was a big deal, and that's one of the reasons why it's called Shabbat HaGadol. In Hebrew, what is Passover called? Pesach. In French, en français, how do you say Easter in French? And how do you spell? With an S in the middle? P-A-S? C-Q-U? Take a lot of consonants and just throw them in there. I shouldn't ask anybody how to spell French. And in Italian, it's Pasqua, like Paschal, which comes from the word Pesach. That's where it comes from. So even the word for Easter, at least in the Latin-based languages, all came from the word for Pesach, which was Passover. I'm going to talk to you about a hidden meaning of the word Passover. But first I want to mention that on the first night of Passover, and sometimes the 2 nights of Passover, we do what's called a Passover what? When you sit down and eat and you have a telling of the story, it's called the Seder. And it's called a Seder because it follows a specific order. If I ask you in Hebrew, how are you doing? The answer is often Beseder, which means in order, everything's okay, Beseder, because it's following, the Seder follows the same order, and it has been following that order for over 2,000 years, before the beginning of the Common Era, meaning, as you probably know, way before Jesus was born, there were Passover Seders, because many scholars say that the Last Supper was a Passover Seder. So the Seder has been going on for thousands of years, and almost this, I mean, we follow the same kind of a pattern, the same order. And so the Seder, the prayer book that's in front of you is called a Siddur, because it follows the same order. That anywhere in the world you go, if you're in a synagogue, anywhere, you will find the same prayers in Hebrew in the same order. If you go to a synagogue in Paris, then you will find translations in French, but the Hebrew is going to be the same. It will sound fancier, because it's going to sound like you're speaking. It's going to be faster. We had a Kaddish moment today with our French family and their brother in Paris. We were doing FaceTime in Paris in the cemetery, and when he was leading the Kaddish, it was pretty cool. With a very French accent saying, Yiz Gadal Vayid Kadash. It was really cool. It was very cool. So it was kind of fun. But so we will follow the same order, and you will find the same Hebrew prayers in every single prayer book you go anywhere in the world. You'll be able to find the same prayers. So the book that we use for the Seder is called Haggadah, which is a nice Ashkenazic pronunciation. I like how you did it. Haggadah means the telling. And I learned something today about why it's called the Haggadah, and a kind of a cool interpretation. That according to a mystical tradition, when you use the word lahagid, to tell something, it means that you're going to be telling a secret. There's a secret of some kind involved. So when we do this telling, there's going to be some kind of a secret that's going to get revealed. And so I already told you that we've been doing the same exact Seder with the same order for over 2,000 years. Can you imagine any secrets anymore? It's almost not, but there are, because there are still going to be insights that you have not ever had before, partially because even though the Seder stays the same, and the Siddur stays the same, and Shabbat is the same, we are different every time we come to it. So I hope you keep an open mind about those things. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But before we begin our actual Shabbat service, I'm trying. His group is coming and they got stuck in traffic. I was stalling a little bit. I did want to tell you all those things before we started our service. But I was hoping they'd get here. So before we start our service, because Shabbat is the beginning of a day of rest, and it's a day of no stress. Anybody have any stress in their world this week? Just a little? Anybody? A little? Yeah, just a little. How about a lot? A lot of stress. So one of the ways that we start our Shabbat and hope to not have stress is we take a deep breath, and you do like a cleansing breath. In through your nose slowly and out through your mouth slowly. And I want to tell you that in the creation story, especially the second creation story, it says that God formed this shape, this human shape, with clay from the four corners of the earth, shaped it into a human, and then God, and I'm not saying that God really has a nose, but God blew directly into, from the nose to the nose, blew directly into this human shape, and that human shape came alive, became Ha'adam, the human. Every time I inhale, I think about that first breath that gave us life. And when I exhale, it's like I give my soul to God at the same time. Inhale, and I'm taking it. Exhale, and I give it back. And there's a give and take that I have all day long, even when I'm not thinking about it. So on Shabbat, we get a chance to think about it. We get a chance to take a deep breath, relax, make the shoulders relax, and think about it. Think about how there's a tradition that on Shabbat, you get an extra soul. Think about it as you're taking it in and letting it go. So the service that we're going to do today, there are 3 options for evening services in our prayer book. The Hebrew is exactly the same, but the translations change a little bit. They have a slightly different focus. The service we're going to do today is page 82. I'm going to invite the Rosen family to come up and lead us in the service, in the blessing of the candles and the wine, and our tradition is please rise for this. If we were at home, we'd be standing for this part too. And if it's uncomfortable for you to stand, please stay seated. We like to say, you stand with us in spirit. '82.
Yeah. These lights are only flickering flames, yet flames illumine our uncertain steps. Flames remind us of Sabbaths long past, and of their beauty that delighted our hearts. May they inspire us to work for the great Sabbath of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu b'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. You hallow us with your mitzvot and command us to kindle the Sabbath lights.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We continue now on pages 167 and 166 with the Kiddush, the sanctification of the day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagaf.
Amen.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine.
Amen.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. You call us to holiness with the mitzvah of Shabbat, the sign of your love, a reminder of your creative work and of our liberation from Egyptian bondage, our day of days. On Shabbat especially, we hearken to your call to serve you as a holy people. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of Shabbat.
Amen. L'chaim. You are welcome to be seated, but I'd like you to say Shabbat Shalom, or good Shabbos, or peaceful Shabbat to somebody you came in with, or someone you didn't come in with. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Tim. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Come say hello. Shabbat Shalom. She's coming to say hello. And then we turn back to page 83. There are days when we seek material things and measure failure by what we do not own.
On Shabbat, we wish not to acquire, but to share.
There are days when we exploit nature with reckless greed.
On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation.
There are days when we think only of ourselves.
On Shabbat, we open our hearts to the needs of others.
Therefore, we welcome Shabbat, day of rest, day of joy,
day of peace.
This song is a welcoming to the angels that accompany us on Shabbat. The translation is found on page 85, but we will sing the Hebrew on page 84. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch. Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The synagogue is the sanctuary of Israel. Born of our longing for the living God, it has been to Israel throughout our wanderings, a visible token of the presence of God in our people's midst. Its beauty is the beauty of holiness. Steadfast it has stood as the champion of justice, mercy, and peace.
Its truths are true for all people. Its love is a love for all people. Its God is the God of all people. As it has been said, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people.
Let all the family of Israel, all who hunger for righteousness, all who seek the eternal, find God here, and here find life. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, ba'agala, u'vizman kariv v'meru. Amen. Yeheshme Rabba mevarach le'alam ul'almei almaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpahar v'yitromam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemeh dekudesha richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'miru. Amen. Barechu et Adonai hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed.
The top of page 87. Well, God, how can we know you? Where can we find you? You are as close to us as breathing, yet you are farther than the farthermost star. You are as mysterious as the vast solitudes of night, yet as familiar to us as the light of the sun. To Moses you said, you cannot see my face, but I will make all my goodness pass before you. Even so does your goodness pass before us, in the realm of nature and in the joys and sorrows of life.
When justice burns within us like a flaming fire, when love evokes willing sacrifice from us, when to the last full measure of selfless devotion, we demonstrate our belief in the ultimate triumph of truth and righteousness,
then your goodness enters our lives, and we can begin to change the world. And then you live within our hearts, and we, through righteousness, behold your presence. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto L'olam Va'ed. You may be seated, but I'm going to ask for Ricky's daughters to come and help me. Come on, you can do it. No, not today. Ricky's daughter. You got this. Deuteronomy 6:4 we just read, and now we're doing Deuteronomy 6:5. It's one of the few things that I can tell you what the chapter and verse is.
ואהבת
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם. Would you lead us in English too, please?
You shall love your
Eternal God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your being. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be symbols before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you consecrate yourselves to your God. I am your eternal God, who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your eternal God. Thank you. These are quotes from the Tanakh. I, the Eternal One, have called you to righteousness and taken you by the hand and kept you. I have made you a covenant people, a light to the nations.
We are Israel, witness to the covenant between God and God's children.
This is the covenant I make with Israel. I will place my Torah in your midst and write it upon your hearts. I will be your God, and you shall be my people.
We are Israel. Our Torah forbids the worship of race or nation, possessions or power.
You who worship gods that cannot save you, hear the words of the Eternal One. I am God, there is none else.
We are Israel. Our prophets proclaimed an exalted vision for the world.
Hate evil, love what is good. Let justice well up as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream.
We are Israel, schooled in the suffering of the oppressed.
You shall not oppress your neighbors, nor rob them. You shall not stand idle while your neighbor bleeds.
We are Israel, taught to beat swords into plowshares, commanded to pursue peace.
Violence shall no longer be heard in your land, desolation and destruction within your borders. All your children will be taught of your God, and great shall be the peace of your children.
We are Israel, O God, when we are witnesses to your love and messengers of your truth.
You are my witnesses, says the Eternal One, and my servant whom I have chosen. Know me, therefore, and put your trust in me.
We are Israel, O God,
When we proclaim you, God our Redeemer, as did our ancestors on the shores of the Red Sea. Singing it better with la-las or with words? Think about it. La-las. La-la wins. V'ne'emar, and it has been said, the Eternal One delivered Jacob and redeemed us from the hand of one stronger than ourselves. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. We praise you, O God, Redeemer of Israel. We continue on 92. May we lie down this night in peace and rise up to life renewed. O God, spread over us your shelter of peace of quiet and calm, and bless us with rest. And let a time come when morning will bring no word of war or famine or anguish, a time of happiness, of contentment and rest. And the Hebrew here says, Baruch atah Adonai, praise are you Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, who spreads over us a tabernacle of peace, aleinu va'al kol amo Yisrael, upon us, upon all the people of Israel, al Yerushalayim va'al kol ha'olam, on Jerusalem and the whole world. We give thanks for the night and its rest and the promise of peace for all the world. Vishameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beni uven b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asah Adonai, asah Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, vishameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, vishameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Please rise for the tefillah, which begins on page 93. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, v'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, v'koneh hakol, v'zocher chaste avot v'imahot, u'mevii geula livnei v'nehem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. God of all generations, of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, of Sarah, Rebekah, Leah, and Rachel, be praised. Your wondrous creative power fills heaven and earth.
God of life and death, be praised. Through us send help to the falling, healing to the sick, freedom to the captive. Confirm your faithfulness to those who sleep in the dust.
Awesome and holy God, be praised. With acts of love and truth, we hallow your name. As it is said, be holy, for I, your eternal God, am holy.
God of times and seasons, be praised. Enable us through Sabbath rest to explore and learn and impart the meanings of your Torah. Make our hearts ready to serve you this day and all days.
God, who answers prayer, be praised. May we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God. Source of life and its wonders, be praised. You are the miracle within all we behold. You are goodness. You are compassion. We give thanks to you forever. Please read with me the English below the Hebrew. God of peace, of justice, and of love, be praised. Inspire us to banish forever hatred, war, and bloodshed. Help us to establish forever one human family united in peace. God of peace, bless us with peace. We sing this song about peace, and I'm sorry that there is no transliteration in this book for this one, but I think you're going to love it anyway.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata melech hador lekol hashalom.
Until this part in the service, we've been given words that our tradition gives us or words that people think should inspire us, but this is the part in the service where we get to say the words that are in our hearts as we take a moment of silent prayer. If you'd like, you can look at what's at the bottom of page 96 or say whatever your heart prompts. We take a moment of silent prayer.
May the words of my mouth
Imrei fi vehegyon libi
and the meditations of my heart
lefanecha
be acceptable to you.
lefanecha
Be acceptable to you.
Adonai Tzuri
Lord, my rock,
Tzuri vegoali
my rock and my redeemer,
Adonai Tzuri
God, my rock,
vegoali.
redeemer.
That worked. I had to stand on my tippy toes to hit the first notes. It worked. Oh. I nailed it that time. That was good. That was a key we could find. Don't ask me what it was. At this time in our service, our hearts and our prayers turn to those who are ill or recuperating. We turn to the inside back cover to find the prayer for this. And I turn off my microphone for a moment. If you have names for whom you would like us to be saying prayers, I invite you to call them out. And Yogi. For all these names, for the names we choose to hold in our hearts and not say out loud, we pray together. Oh God, in our hearts we name those who are facing illness and pain. We join our prayers with the prayers of all who love them. Give them renewed comfort and courage. Strengthen in them the healing powers you have placed within us all. Guide the hands and hearts of those who are entrusted with their care. May the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to them and to their dear ones. May they find even greater strength because our prayers are linked to theirs. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. We praise you, eternal God, the source of healing and health. And it has become our tradition to also add this blessing. Misha berach avotenu ve'imotenu, may the one who blessed and protected our ancestors guard all those whom we've entrusted with the responsibility of defending our freedom and protecting us in this country, in the land of Israel, and everywhere they have been called to serve. Give them courage to succeed and strength to persevere. May they return home safely, and let us say, I wrote my notes down today. Last week, I talked about talking to people. I connected it to the Torah portion. The portion last week talks about people getting spiritual ailments because they would use their words in ways that hurt others. It was this flaky skin thing, and it was kind of yucky. And we find out that it wasn't a medical problem, it was a spiritual problem. If you said things about someone else, you might get this stuff on you. This week, the Torah portion talks about spiritual ailments for our houses. Houses apparently can have different kinds of stuff growing or oozing on the walls. I hope it's only a coincidence that this week, the week that we're reading about that in the Torah, I had painters at my house every day to try to cure something that was happening to my walls and ceilings. True story. The Torah portion tells me I probably should have called a Kohen, one of the high priests. I can tell you that it's embarrassing enough to have to show painters the stains on my ceilings and walls from water seeping in through the roof, but how can I live with that stuff in my breathing space? And of course, it means that the painters had to come into my house every day this week. And since this is less than 2 weeks before Passover, my house is in an unusual state of disarray right now. I buy Passover food and I stick it in a little corner where I think I'm not going to have any crumbs from the rest of the year. And that's all sitting up there, and then they have to do their painty stuff in that corner, and next thing I know, it got moved, and I'm like, it's been a stressful week. I don't like my house looking like a mess. That was the point, actually, about the walls oozing in the Torah also. We are taught that in those days, the oozing was caused by people who were not kind to each other. In this case, it was when, let's say, someone knocks on your door and says, and we're talking about when we left Egypt, we're this mass in the wilderness, mass of people, and someone knocks on your door and says, can I borrow something? Can you help me with something? Can you watch my kids for a minute while I do something else? And if you said, you peek out of the door like this and you say, no, I can't help you, and you close the door, your walls might start oozing. And you would have to call a Kohen, and the Kohen would take a look and say, yep, that could be tzara'at. You know what the cure is for that? You have to take all of the things in your house and put them on your yard in front of your house, which is one of the ways we know that it's not leprosy, which is one of the ways that we translate that word. It's a terrible translation. Anyone who has a Bible where the translation is leprosy, it's not what you think it means. And so if it were leprosy, which is a contagious illness, you wouldn't stick it in the middle of your yard so that everybody could be exposed to it. But if somebody knocked on my door and said, can you help me? I could really use some food. And I say, can't help you, goodbye. And I close the door. And next thing I know, I got stuff oozing from my walls. And I have to put everything in my front yard. And you see, I have a PlayStation 4. And I have a DVD player. And I don't not have anything. I've got all that Passover food sitting in my... I have to stick everything so everybody can see it. The embarrassment of having your excess on display, or your embarrassment of having the Kohen come see your mess, might be incentive to be more careful about using your words in ways that help each other. This week, as I mentioned before, is not just the Shabbat before Passover, but it's called Shabbat Hagadol, the big Shabbat. One reason is because of how important it was in the Exodus story, and I already told you this is when we picked our sheep to take the blood to put it over the doorpost so the angel of death would pass over our homes. Another reason they gave why this is called the big Shabbat, because people expected to stay later for services today, because the rabbi was expected to give extra long sermons, presumably because more people would attend in anticipation of Passover. They were longer also because often it was describing all of the details of the things you had to do to make sure you were keeping Passover, because one of the laws is you're supposed to have matzah, but another law is you're supposed to not have chametz. You're not allowed to eat it, and you're not allowed to own it, and I hope that you're saying, wait, what? Because the punishment is you get cut off from the people of Israel, and I hope you say, I'm not allowed to own, I'm not allowed to eat what? Hopefully you will stop and ask the rabbi, what do you mean by that? I don't want to do that, cut off from. So potentially the rabbi might have stayed longer, and that's another reason why it was called Shabbat Hagadol. I wrote mine down so that I wasn't going to keep you here longer. I don't intend to do a much longer sermon, but I do want to focus a bit more about the things that we speak about. The spiritual ailments that can come from using our words in ways that hurt others aren't seen anymore. My house did not get ooze coming from it because of things that I said. I don't think. I think that there are other repercussions from things that I said. It was because of a leak that I had in my roof after last April's hailstorm, and then they put a new roof on, and then that roof leaked, and that was my problem. It does make me wonder, though, I have to tell you, and it does make me even more careful about how I use my words. We have another important connection with this week being Shabbat Hagadol. We read how we use our words. Next week, during the Seder, we are strongly encouraged to ask questions. What are the questions, the primary questions you know we ask? Why is this night different from all other nights? Right after we finish reading the 4 questions, we read this quote, "Therefore, even if we were all of us wise, all of us full of knowledge and understanding, all of us learned in Torah, it nevertheless would be incumbent upon us to speak of the departure of Egypt, and all those who speak of the departure from Egypt are accounted praiseworthy." It doesn't matter how many times we heard the story. It doesn't matter how well we think we know the story. We have to keep telling the story. We have to. We are obligated to feel like we left Egypt, but we're obligated to continue to tell the story. But it's not just tell, it's speak the story. We're reminded each year not only about what it was like to be slaves and how we should treat people well because we remember what it was like to be slaves, but we also are reminded that we must speak to each other. We must find good things to talk about. We must ask and answer questions. We must learn about the world and about each other. One interpretation, I love this part, one interpretation of the name of the holiday of Passover in Hebrew, which remember is Pesach, is that it could be read Pe-sicha, which means a talking mouth. We should understand that as a dialogue. Not only do we dialogue with each other during the Seder, but our prayers, even on this big Shabbat HaGadol, has us using our voices to dialogue with God. Remember that a good dialogue means we need to not only speak, but we have to listen to the words. That's not only true for communicating with each other, but communicating with God. We can have conversations with God in prayer, and we can sit with each other and listen to each other's conversations with God when we join our voices together in prayer, when we come together for services like a Shabbat HaGadol. And that is a very big Shabbat thing indeed. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Mr. President, tell us the big Shabbat things we have going on this week. Thank you. Shabbos.
Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi, it's easy to find good things to say about you.
Ooh, thank you.
So we're
Tell
lucky,
that to my walls.
lucky to have you. Thank you to the Rosen family for sending the blessings. And special welcome to the confirmation classes of Spring Hill United Methodist Church and Broadmoor United Methodist Church. Thank you all for being here. B'nai Zion Seder will be next Friday, 6:30 p.m., April 19th, ready or not.
We're ready.
Rabbi Jana will lead the Seder, and Sisterhood will provide the meal. If you have Yahrzeit that weekend, we will do the Kaddish at the beginning of the Seder, in case you want to only attend for Kaddish. We also have Passover Shabbat service in the sanctuary when we will say Kaddish for the week's Yahrzeit the following morning on Saturday, April 20th. There will be a Kiddush Shabbat this coming tomorrow.
It is tomorrow.
April 13th, 9 a.m. Rabbi Jana will lead a singing, dancing, marching, poinging. No reading necessary. Great story, happy Shabbat service, followed by challah and grape juice. Please come. Next week will be lots of Passover prep. This Sunday at 10 a.m., please come to help make matzo ball soup with master soup makers Betty Warnock and Alan Sorky. Everyone is welcome to join. And then on Wednesday, April 17th at 10 a.m., Artist Robinson will be making chopped liver and haroset. Please join us there. The more helpers, the quicker we finish. Also on Thursday, we'll be making deviled eggs and setting the tables for Seder. So again, all the help would be appreciated. There will also be paper shredding on April 30th. So the deadline for bringing, the paper is April 30th. B'nai Zion is requesting $18 donation for the first box, banker's box size, $10 per box beyond. Shredding truck will come, and to respect privacy will be done on site. There will be on Sunday, May 5th, 3 o'clock, the Holocaust Remembrance Service. Honor the lives that were lost during one of humanity's worst moments. Our community will remember, and this will be at Broadmoor United Methodist Church. We thank them for hosting. Our congregation dinner will be Thursday, May 9th at 6 p.m. It will be a catered dinner. Please RSVP. There will be much information in the bulletin. Donations were made to B'nai Zion for pulpit flowers in loving memory of Molly B. Tech by Debbie Dillon. Thank you.
I think I didn't write that correctly. It's the congregational meeting is happening. I think we missed that. There will be a dinner at the congregational meeting, but it's the congregational meeting and dinner. I'm sorry about that. Looks like that's still not right. Yeah, we didn't say that? It says 3. It's 3. He did say it's on there. It's on there. It's at 3 o'clock on Sunday, May 5th. And there's a lot happening. Yeah, I know, dialogue. That's why this is a big Shabbat, because we're all learning how to listen. We're usually really good at this. It's just that we're all so exhausted from cleaning our houses for Passover and stuff. It's really rough. It's the way it works. So at this time in my service, I normally invite everyone who is under the age of 13 to come up and help me open the ark. And even if even if this is the first time you've ever been here, if you are under the age of 13 and you would like to honor us by coming up, you are welcome to come up and help us open the ark. Everyone else is turning to page 148. Just understand that it is an honor. You know what you're going to find if we open that ark? The Torah scrolls. It's got the 5 books of Moses on there. Come on. 148. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thanks for coming. 148. Come on. Everybody else is turning to 148. The words in the Torah scrolls are the words that God gave us, and so out of respect we stand, not for the Torah scrolls, but for the words. So please open up the ark. Open. Go ahead. Me? Yeah, both. It's going to take 2 people. Gently, gently. Nice. I see Torah scrolls. Come on around and come see. Open it up so that everybody can see. And we also have this happening here. We have these cute little huggable Torah scrolls too.
Oh, that's cute.
I know you'd think that. We didn't have it last time you were here. I knew you'd think that was cute. So on page 148, we sing. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol la'tet gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu k'goyeh ha'aratzot v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem וגור עלינו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. And then we're going to close the ark, and when the ark is closed, I'm going to put this guy back. Bye, Torah. It's good to see you again. All right, when we close the ark, after I get out of here, dumpty dumpty dum.
What is it?
Come on, that's the ark. We close the ark. Thank you. Gently, gently. Nice. Nice. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for honoring us. We continue on page 150. The day will come when all shall turn with trust to you, O God, hearkening to your voice, bearing witness to your truth. Please join me. We pray with all our hearts, let violence be gone. Let the day come soon when evil shall give way to goodness, when war shall be forgotten, and all at last shall live in freedom. O source of life, may we, created in your image, embrace one another in friendship and in joy. Then shall we be one family, and then shall your sovereignty be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. The eternal God will reign forever and ever. On that day, O God, you shall be one, and your name shall be one. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, Ushimo echad. Every service is filled with happy thoughts and sad thoughts. There are times when we remember, this is the time when we remember those people who have died. And in our congregation, first we acknowledge the people who run into dangerous situations for our sake. And I am sad to let you know that this year we have lost 8 people in our military already, in the American military. We've already lost, and I say already praying that it does not continue. We have lost 32 police officers already this year. We've lost 5 canine officers this year, and we've lost 10 firefighters already this year. May their memories be a blessing. May their families be consoled. May we be forever grateful that there are people who run into dangerous situations to try to protect us. On page 151, our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, let us meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. I invite you to turn to page 152. This is my favorite one. When cherished ties are broken and the chain of love is shattered, only trust and the strength of faith can lighten the heaviness of the heart. At times, the pain of separation seems more than we can bear, but love and understanding can help us pass through the darkness toward the light. Out of affliction, the psalmist learned the law of God. And in truth, grief is a great teacher when it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are bowed with sorrow. We learn when to keep silence in their presence and when a word will assure them of our love and concern. Thus, even when they're gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as in their higher moments they themselves wished to live. We remember them now. They live in our hearts. They are an abiding blessing. However brief may be our time on earth, O God, you endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. We recall the loved ones whom death has taken from us in the past month. We remember Jacqueline Tippett Smith. And since we have guests here, if you had a family member who died in the past month, you're invited to call out their name. And we remember congregants' parents who died within the past year. That includes Richard Stewart, Clifford Bear, Joe Batt II, and Peter Haas. And if you had a parent who died in the past year, I invite you to call out their name. And as we remember those who died at this season in years past, we take them into our hearts with our own. Those for whom we are observing the anniversary of the death, and the anniversary occurred this past week between Sunday till tomorrow, include Isidore Friedman, Salome Guardsbane, Louis Golden, Barbara C. Goodman, Lois P. Cooperman, Clara L. Lieber, Charlton E. Meyer Sr., Nathan Pfeiffer, Sally Sorkin, Bob Sussman, Molly B. Tech, Henry S. Wiseman Jr., Doris Sussman Yates, and John Zuzak. In this moment of memory, our griefs and sympathies are mingled. Loving God, we rise as together we praise your name. The mourner's Kaddish is a prayer of praise. We give thanks to those people who we loved who are now gone. On page 154, the translation is on 155. You are invited to read it out loud with us in either language that you prefer. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chaye chon u'v'yom echon u'v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudsha barichu, la'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. Please be seated. I'm going to invite up that family to come and help. Wait, and I need to invite pastor's family too to come up. How about just the children of the families? Just the children. Come on up. You coming? Because you grew up doing this. I remember you doing this. watch. Come here. Hold on to the bottom of this. Let me get my microphone. Here comes another one. Nice job. Get the microphone so we can hear you. And this is the prayer we say. Ready? Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. I'm going to take the tray and you take the bread. Everybody gets a piece. Take a piece. Everybody get a piece. Grab, grab, grab. That's a challah bread. It's just bread. You have to eat it. You said the blessing, now you have to eat it. You can take the rest of your family. Go share if you want. Nice. So I told this story before. Her parents are both pastors, and for as long as I've known them, they've been pastors of different congregations, and they didn't get to worship together on Sundays, so they would worship with us on Friday nights, so that they had their spiritual experience together. And she was an infant and a toddler and was here every single week just about. And there was one night where she was the only child who showed up, and it was time for doing the motzi. And she looked like she was still asleep, so I picked, we had a guy in the congregation, a Jewish guy who was almost 100 years old. And I offered the honor of saying the blessing to him. And he was happy to have it. It was his birthday too, I think. And he was happy to have the honor. And when I said, would you please do the blessing? She took a look at me and she went, ah! She started crying and crying. And I broke this little girl's heart. I felt so terrible. So we let the elderly man do the blessing. And I took a big chunk and I snuck it up to her. In the middle of services, I snuck it up to her so she could have her challah. I feel terrible. She doesn't remember, and I'm not going to keep telling her this story so that she remembers, but I will never forget that look when she went, "Wah," and hit in her daddy's chest. "Wah." So she's been coming since she was a little girl, but she doesn't remember. She has not been coming for a while because her parents have gone in other directions and in other places, but we're so glad to have her back now. We're glad to have all of you. At this point in our service, I ask that you please rise for the closing benediction. It is a big blessing on this big Shabbat for us to be here together. I hope that everybody chooses to take some time and visit with each other and listen to each other, get to know each other a little bit, learn about each other. And the other thing that I want to remind us on Shabbat HaGadol is to look for ways to make the world a better place. Find those ways and do those things. That's the big story. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you. May God protect you. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'choneka. May the light of God's face shine upon you, be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's face be lifted up to you. May God grant you peace. Shabbat shalom. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Go have some refreshments, bim.